On today's video, let's discuss every single DC Compacts comic release and whether or not I think it's a good pickup for a new comic reader.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and today we're talking about DC Compact Comics. Now, this is a new format that DC Comics came up with that a lot of other publishers are starting to replicate because they realize that a format that's affordable is the easiest way to get new readers. Really feels like that shouldn't have taken this long to figure out, but I'm glad the industry finally shifted in that direction. Compact comics are great. The idea we have here is a book that retails for $10 USD and contains an entire story. Get you started on something. I really like this format. But of course, before we get into talking about what a compact comic is, for those that are not aware, we're going to discuss some basics on what this video is going to be. I'm going to go through every single DC Compact Comics release that has been solicited as of November 2025. Key point there, I do not know the future. Everything that's been solicited, not just released, but, you know, everything that's in the catalog going forward. I'm going to talk about each and every book, and I'm going to say whether or not I think it's a good pickup if you're trying to get into something, and my recommendations here and there, because the compact comics format is great, but it may not be for every title, and every book may not be for every reader. Now, that being said, you can also just ignore my advice and pick up whatever you think looks cool because, well, ultimately, I just have an opinion. So when it comes to this, I have read DC Comics for a long time. I know the library of DC quite well, so I'm coming at this from a point of experience, so let's go from there. Now, if you also want to have a similar video for DC Finest, I already got one of those. Did one of those, very successful, kind of kicked off this little series of videos talking about these formats and going into book breakdowns. Also did one about Marvel Epic collections and the gaps in the classic era. And I got another Marvel Epic video coming in the near future. So if you don't want to miss out, hit subscribe and the notification bell. Hit the like button and tell me you enjoyed this video. This should be kind of fun because going through the compact comics, I think, you know, these are perfect for new readers. So let me, an experienced reader, give you some advice on which ones you should pick up. Alright, so what is a DC Compact Comics? So basically, DC Compact Comics are small-sized comic format. So let's talk about that. First of all, here is a standard size trade paperback. This is your normal comic size that you see with most formats. Here's a compact comic. So you can see it's a lot more compact. That's kind of the whole idea. And I think it's really cool to have a format that is smaller. This allows you to have a book that's easier to put in a bag if you do long commutes or you're in school or, you know, whatever. I'm going to have it in the middle of a meeting, take it to work on a lunch break. You can toss this into a bag a lot easier than a big old trade. And I think that is super beneficial. They haven't been described as manga size, but they are a little bit bigger than the standard manga for the English-speaking world. Manga in Japan are a little smaller than this. So you can see kind of your three stages of sizes here. And yes, I was comparing Far Sector to Far Sector because I really love Far Sector. But basically, this is the size difference. And so when it comes to the compact comics, for most of them, they're going to be great in this smaller size because they're still legible. You can still read them. The art presents quite well. Especially the modern books, they can scale the artwork a lot easier. But I find them pretty easy to read for the experience I've had with this one. Because ultimately, compact comics at this smaller size, at this $10 price point, which is still bonkers, it's $10, that's pretty amazing. Especially because this is a whole 12-issue series. This is great for a first-time reader. For someone that's like, oh, I want to try out a Green Lantern comic, and this is there for $10. I mean, that's a lot more financially smart than blind buying a $30 trade paperback in a larger size. And I think that's the whole idea with compact comics. Now, like I said, I'm an experienced reader. This is the only compact I own, not because they're not good, but because if I'm buying something, and, you know, at this point, I know if I'm going to spend the $30 for the full trade or the $50 for the deluxe hardcover, that sort of thing. So if you're a long-term reader that kind of already knows what you like, compact may not be for you, but it may also be a way to try out a series then to upgrade it to a larger format later. But for the most part, I find these to be quite legible and quite interesting. Now, that $10 price point is consistent across the board. I was at Barnes & Noble recently, just snapped some pictures. You can see, you know, like, well, real quick, you know, Far Sector, that's its length. The page counts are wildly different at times. You've got larger ones, you've got thicker ones. They all run, you know, roughly about 12 issues is kind of the standard, though it's not a hard, fast rule. The Joker one is super thin because that's just a graphic novel, for example. But in general, like, these are well stocked in bookstores from what I've seen. They're very easy to kind of just pick up on a whim. And I think that is kind of the benefit of these. It's really easy for someone to get into a comic by going, oh, I can just spend $10 and get Watchmen. That's pretty awesome. So we're going to go through, like I said, we're going to go through the books and discuss what I think of each release and whether or not it's a good pickup for if you are a new reader or just in general. If it's a good pick for the format. Because I think some of the titles they picked don't quite fit compact comics in the way they should. So we're going to go alphabetical just like we did with the DC Finest video, and we're going to start with American Vampire Book 1. This contains the first 11 issues of American Vampire by Scott Snyder, Stephen King, and Raphael Albuquerque. This is a horror series, and it is the start of it. Now, in terms of DC's compact lineup, so far, there hasn't been a book 2 for any of these. Some of them are standalone, but in this case, yeah, this one's going to be kind of interesting because we basically just have book 1, and that came out on October 2024, so they haven't actually done a book 2, and I don't know if they are. This kind of feels like maybe it's supposed to be like, here's your starter, and if you like it, go buy the more expensive format that has all the issues. That's kind of a cool way to do it, I guess, but it is a good way to try out American Vampire and see if it's something you would enjoy. All right, The Authority, Relentless. This was released July 2025, containing the first 12 issues of The Authority, plus the planetary authority ruling the world and the Requiem story from Wildstorm, a celebration of 25 years. Now, the Authority characters were posed to get a movie in James Gunn's DCU, and that kind of seems like where this came from. But ultimately, we just had The Engineer so far and no moving on that Authority movie if it ever happens. But if you're wanting to get interested in characters like that, that is kind of the world of The Authority. It's sort of one of those titles, it's Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch, where it is kind of like a take on traditional superheroes. It's a bit of a deconstruction type thing. So if you're into that, The Authority might be up your alley, and at $10, that's a pretty good way to test it out and see if you like it. All right, Batgirl of Burnside. Now, this is releasing July 7th, 2026. This contains Batgirl 35 to 52, Batgirl Annual 3, Secret Origins 10, and a DC sneak peek Batgirl number 1 by Brendan Fletcher and Cameron Stewart. Now, this is the New 52 era of Batgirl following Gail Simone's run on the character. So it features Barbara Gordon, and she's in a new part of town. She's in Burnside. This one kind of got some, a little bit of pushback from longtime comic fans because it seemed like they were kind of de-aging Barbara Gordon a little bit, pushing her backward. But if you are reading this on its own, that cover is pretty iconic, and this contains the entire Batgirl of Burnside part of the story. Like, this is essentially everything for it, which is kind of amazing because, like, there is a Batgirl of Burnside omnibus that doesn't contain much more than this. They're pretty close to the actual same page counts. So, you know what? You can't go wrong with this if this is something you're interested in. All right, we have a huge swath of Batman titles. So first of all, we have Batman The Dark Knight Returns, releasing April 7th, 2026. This is a perfect for a compact comic. This is the 4-issue series by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson, and this is an iconic Elseworld story. It's an alternate world that shows an older Batman coming back out of retirement to deal with Gotham City and its current problems. It's been adapted and homaged many times. There was an animated movie, Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, used a lot of inspiration from this. If you've never read it, it is one of Frank Miller's best works. And it's pretty good to get it in a $10 compact size because Frank Miller's artwork at that time was really legible and really easy to read at a smaller format even. So highly recommended on that one. All right, next up, Batman Arkham Asylum, released September 2nd, 2025. This is by Grant Morrison and Dave McKean. This is the Batman Arkham Asylum, a Serious House on Serious Earth graphic novel in a compact form. This is not related to the Batman Arkham Asylum video game. For context, this came out in 1989. This is a pretty dark tale. It's pretty mature. It is, I don't know if it's the best suited for compact because of the way the artwork is. It may be a little bit hard to read, but just depends on your personal eyes. Kind of a good thing to flip through in the bookshop and see if you can kind of go, oh yeah, no, I can't quite, work it out. Depends on how your eyeballs are, honestly, on this one. But it is a solid graphic novel. It's one of the seminal Batman works for a reason. Batman Gotham by Gaslight, one of my favorites. This comes out January 20th, 2026. This is by Brian Augustine and Mike Mignola. This was an original graphic novel. This just contains the original Batman Gotham by Gaslight, none of its sequels. It's only 120 page count, which means it is one of the smaller sizes. I think this works great for compact because Gotham by Gaslight, it's iconic. It's like it's an Elseworlds Batman that's a Victorian era set. They did an animated movie based on it that I thought was pretty good. So I really like this one, though, because the regular Gotham by Gaslight trade that comes with the sequels isn't that much more expensive. If you're interested, you might want to just spring for the trade that has the sequel stories in them. Just because this is kind of a thin one for $10, you might as well spend like the 17 or 20 to get the whole thing if this is something you're interested in to begin with. Batman The Long Halloween by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, released October 7th, 2025. Another iconic Batman Elseworlds story. This was a 13-issue series, so you're getting a heck of a good deal. This is like one of the top values for page count on compact. And the artwork is incredible. Tim Sale's artwork is amazing. Long Halloween has not only had an animated adaptation, but it was a huge inspiration for the Batman film by Matt Reeves. So I would highly recommend picking this up and reading it if you've never read it, because it is one of the iconic Batman works. And I think also the price value here is unbeatable. Batman Under the Red Hood. Now this one is kind of tricky, because Batman Under the Red Hood is well known, I think, for its animated movie adaptation, which is fantastic. It's probably my favorite animated Batman movie. I love Under the Red Hood's movie. The comic is a little messy. Not so certain on this one. It's definitely like, I'm glad that you can get it for $10 instead of having to spend more on Under the Red Hood, but yeah, I don't know. This one's kind of a hard recommendation because I think that the movie is just the better version of the story, though since this is like the one that kind of, what's the best way to put it? This is the best way to read it, I think, if you're going to read it, because it is important to main continuity Batman. But if you're reading main continuity Batman, you probably want it in a bigger format to go with your other formats. So I don't think this is necessarily the best version here. I did forget to mention the creators on this. We have Judd Winnick, Doug Mahnke as the writer and artist. It's a very strange tale to have as a compact, 'cause I think it works better within DC continuity, because if you're just going to see it without the rest of the continuity, go check out the animated movie. All right, we got Batman Hush, released August 6, 2024. This contains Batman 608 to 619 by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. This is an iconic Batman story because it features all of Batman's villains. It has the Jim Lee artwork that's beautiful. I personally don't care for it. I personally don't care for this as a story. It is good to pick it up at $10 because I think that's better than picking it up at a much more expensive price point. That being said, the artwork is the big draw with Hush, I think, and maybe getting in a smaller size may not satisfy you, depends on how you feel. But if you always wondered, if you haven't made your own opinion on Hush as a story, that's not a bad way to pick it up and find out. All right, next up, Batman the Court of Owls saga, containing Batman 1 to 11 from the New 52 by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, released June 4th, 2024. This is a main universe Batman story revealing that there has been a secret group of people running Gotham for centuries, known as the Court of Owls, and they've been there since Gotham's inception, and there's a whole big conspiracy involved. It's a really good thriller story, and it's why Batman was considered the best New 52 title at launch. So honestly, you can't go wrong with this. Now, again, it is just the first two arcs of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. There are other collections that have more of the story, but I think you can read this in a bubble and it's totally fine, and you really can't go wrong with it because it's the Court of Owls. It's been influencing like adaptations in Batman and future stories immediately since it happened, because it's such a brilliant idea to have kind of like this parallel between Batman and owls, right? So it's got a good parallel. Excellent pick for compact. All right, our last Batman title so far, Batman White Knight, releasing February 3rd, 2026 by Sean Murphy and Matt Hollingsworth. This is the 8-issue Elseworlds series. Now, this is a Black Label series. This is a mature title. Batman White Knight is an alternate universe story that has several sequels, but the original miniseries does stand alone. It kind of gives you an idea if you're even going to like the White Knight universe. It's a bit of a polarizing series because the kind of premise it begins with is the White Knight in the title is the Joker. The Joker's been turned sane. What happens in that regard? Will the Joker actually have the ability to be a good guy? Can he actually be a White Knight for Gotham? There's a lot of stuff in it. I really like the White Knight universe. I really do enjoy it. They're putting out an Absolute Edition of White Knight, and that's going to be my first Absolute Edition. I've never bought one of those before, but Batman White Knight has got me hooked in. So I'm excited because I think that more people can kind of see if they're going to enjoy the White Knight universe. It's definitely not for everybody. Some people are not going to be okay with how some of the characters are portrayed and some of the storylines. But if you want to know, will I like Batman White Knight to go looking for the sequels, I'd say pick up the compact. It's a good way to do it. All right, Batwoman Elegy, released June 17, 2025. This is by Greg Rucka and J. H. Williams III, containing Detective Comics issues 854 to 863. So this is the Batwoman run that began kind of Kate Kane's solo adventure. She had started in 52, so this is a main universe title. And they had introduced a new Batwoman for the modern day. And then they gave her a solo run in Detective Comics that has been reprinted many times, but because it's really, really good. J.H. Williams III would go on to work on the New 52 Batwoman series that would expand upon this. But as it is, this was kind of the Batwoman solo adventure prior to the New 52. So yeah, you can read this. It works completely in a bubble. If you like Kate Kane, if you saw the Batwoman series or some of the animated adaptations, you're interested in the character, high recommendation. That's a really great book. All right, Catwoman, Trail of the Catwoman. So this is going to be Darwin Cook and Ed Brubaker. This released October 1st, 2024. This contains Catwoman, Selina's Big Score, which is a graphic novel, the first 9 issues of the Catwoman series by Ed Brubaker, and then Trail of the Catwoman, which was backup stories from Detective Comics 759 to 762. And that takes place between Selina's Big Score and the first issue of Catwoman. This is a great, great Catwoman run. This isn't all of it, but it is the initial part, and it is the Darwin Cook illustrated part of it, in addition to Darwin Cook doing some writing on this. I love this. I love this series. Catwoman, Selina's had a really strong run of solo appearances, but this is one of the best. And if you're wanting to know if you're going to like Catwoman stories that don't involve Batman, this is a great way to start your Catwoman journey. DC The New Frontier. This was released August 5th, 2025, and is by Darwin Cook and Dave Stewart, containing all 6 issues of DC New Frontier, as well as the New Frontier special. High recommendation. Like, this is such a good series to kind of have this modern take on the Silver Age DC. Get to the real, like, you know, locked into like the core of the DC universe, as well as referencing things in our real world and having a lot of correlation to it. If you've seen the animated movie and you never read the comic, please read the comic. The animated movie is amazing. The comic is just as amazing. I miss Darwin Cook making comics every day since he's passed because of books like New Frontier. And the fact you can get all of New Frontier, 416 pages for $10, is amazing. Absolutely pick that up. All right, Deceased, released June 3rd, 2025 by Tom Taylor and Trevor Hairsine. This is a 6-issue alternate universe series where all the DC characters become zombies. So if you like Marvel zombies, if you like zombie stories in general, this is going to be up your alley. If you don't, not much left here for you to work with. The Flash Rebirth. This is releasing March 17th, 2026 by Jeff Johns and Ethan Van Sciver. This is the Flash Rebirth 1-6 and the Flash Volume 3 1-7. This is an odd choice. It is Jeff Johns, who is a popular writer and, you know, kind of one of the guys at DC that would do a lot of these relaunches. But I feel like this requires a little bit too much prior knowledge to be a good standalone read. I think something from the New 52 or the Rebirth era of Flash has a little bit cleaner of an opening, because the whole point of Flash Rebirth is to bring Barry Allen back. So you kind of need to know that Barry Allen was gone. So it kind of starts to be, I don't think it reads as well as an entry point. I think there could have been better entry points into Flash history. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I think I would have gone with the New 52. I would have started with the first 12 issues of the New 52. But you are getting good value here if you are interested and you are a Jeff Johns fan. This is, it's not my favorite pick for the first Flash compact. Gotham Central. This is releasing May 19th, 2026, containing the first 10 issues of Gotham Central by Greg Rucka, Ed Brubaker, Michael Lark, and others. This is a pretty iconic series for 2000s Batman, which was focusing on the detectives of the GCPD as opposed to the main characters you see in other stories. and it's really well regarded. But the only bummer with this is that you only get the first 10 issues out of 40, but that does mean you get the first 2 story arcs. So you get a pretty good chunk of Gotham Central for that nice $10 format to kind of see if you like it and end up continuing on to picking up the series in more full, because they have like an omnibus and stuff for Gotham Central. So it's definitely a good way to test it out and find out if you want to read it. Green Arrow Year 1, releasing May 5th, 2026 by Andy Diggle and Jacques. This is a good miniseries, and I think that Green Arrow Year 1's great. It starts it's a new modern origin for Oliver Queen becoming Green Arrow. I'm not sure if it's main continuity or not. It's always been kind of 50-50. That being said, it being only 6 issues, 152 pages, it's not your best price value. I probably would have gone with the Archer's Quest for a better price value. Do like the Archer's Quest, like the first 2 arcs of that. But this makes sense because out of all the Green Arrow stories, and out of all the Green Arrow starting points, whether it's Longbow Hunters or it's, Archer's Quest, this one starts completely fresh because it is the origin. So I see why they did that. Do wish they would have thrown some little bit more in just for a better price value. But if you want to get a Green Arrow origin story, you really can't go wrong with Green Arrow Year 1. All right, Harley Quinn and the Gotham City Sirens. This was released September 3rd, 2024. This contains the first 13 issues of Gotham City Sirens by Paul Dini and Gwilym March. So this is a great series. It was really iconic. It was bringing together Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman onto a team together. And this is the first 13 issues, which is a good chunk. The series did last longer than that. And once again, they're not like doing continuing volumes and compact at the moment. So this is, again, kind of a trial run. Do you like this? Do you enjoy this? And then see if you want to continue collecting other Gotham City Sirens. Though, kind of odd, with some of these, it's like, okay, yeah, there's like an omnibus out there. There's a DC Finest or something. There's no other current collections of Gotham City Sirens, to my knowledge. That's a series that deserves a better collection in the future, because Gotham City Sirens is fun. If you like those characters interacting together, it's a good time. And then we got Harley Quinn, Wild at Heart, released September 16th, 2025 by Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti, with Harley Quinn issues 0 through 13. This is a pretty great run for Harley. If you like the bubbly, light, really fun kind of action romps, you can't go wrong with Conner and Palmiotti on Harley Quinn. They have an iconic run, and they do have a great time making this book. And it being the first chunk of it means you could continue to find other collections, but I also think that the earliest part of it was the best part of it, so you kind of can't go wrong with that one if you're wanting just Harley Quinn adventures. Injustice: Gods Among Us Year 1, releasing July 21st, 2026. This contains the entire first Injustice: Gods Among Us series, which is all 12 issues in the annual, by Tom Taylor and Tom Derenick. Now, this is a prequel to the Injustice: Gods Among Us video game, but it's only 1/5 of the prequel. See, the thing is that they ran Injustice, there's a 5-year time skip in the Injustice stories, so they ran Year 1, Year 2, Year 3, Year 4, Year 5. Then there was a Ground Zero series that took place during the game's events, and then there was a Year 0. There's a bunch of Injustice. On its own, reading just Year 1, you're not even getting a full story. I kind of don't want to recommend this one simply because of that. You're not getting a complete tale. You're getting 1/5 of the base part of the story. And there's Injustice compendiums out there that have a $60 cover price and are basically like an omnibus, and you can get more of the complete story. There's like 2 compendiums that'll have the entire Injustice story for the first game. That's kind of a better value, simply because I don't think Injustice Year 1 reads on its own all that well. All right, Joker by Brian Azzarello and Lee Barrimo. This is released September 3rd, 2024. This contains the Joker graphic novel from 2008. This is a very dark series. It's a very dark tale. It's also, I think, the second thinnest compact, so it's not the best price value. I'm kind of here or there on this. I'm not a big fan, but I do see people being fans of it, and I think that kind of, it's got some merit to be released, but it's not a personal favorite. I can't really recommend it on my end, but that's just maybe a taste thing. Then again, that's the whole point of compact comics, is you can test them out, see if you like it. It's not like a huge commitment to do so. Kingdom Come, released May 6, 2025. This contains all 4 issues by Mark Waid and Alex Ross. Now, this is a standalone Elseworlds story where it's a world after the superheroes have retired and the younger superheroes are more violent and more aggressive. Kingdom Come is an iconic Elseworlds story, though I do think having a Alex Ross illustrated book in a compact size does a bit of a disservice to the beautiful painted visuals of Alex Ross interior artwork. So that's going to be up to you. Personally, I would just spring for a normal Kingdom Come trade. They have them printed all the time, and they're not that much more expensive. But if you are going in on compacts, it's not a bad compact to get, but I do think it's better served in a different format. Nightwing, Leaping into the Light, releasing March 3rd, 2026. This contains Nightwing 78 to 88 by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. So this is the DC Infinite Frontier Nightwing, which Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo's Nightwing was well-loved, well-regarded, sold really well, had great artwork, great writing. I think people really, really enjoyed this, and I think this is a great way to start. Now, again, you're not going to get the complete, Nightwing by Tom Taylor in this one compact, but you're getting the first 2 arcs of it, which I think are so solid, and it's a great way to decide if you're going to like Nightwing, so definitely a good pick for the lineup. Static Season 1, released May 27, 2025. This contains all 6 issues of Static Season 1 by Vita Ayala and Reginald Hudland. This is a reboot of the classic Milestone character for a modern age. Absolutely adore this. I think this is a great pick for compact. There's only been 2 Static series in the modern days. There was this, and there was Static Shadows of Dakota, so maybe they'll do a second compact there. But if you want to experience the character of Static, if you only know him from the cartoon, if you want a little bit more of a grounded take on the character, the show was very grounded, but this is like, kind of a modern setting of it. Absolutely highly recommended. I adore the modern Milestones Returns books and the classic ones. Static is one of the best characters they've ever made, and Static Season 1 is an excellent series, and at $10, you cannot beat that price value. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, releasing January 6, 2026. This is obviously a tie-in with the upcoming Supergirl movie that is said to be inspired by the Woman of Tomorrow comic by Tom King and Bilquis Evely. This is all 8 issues in a $10 format, and I haven't actually read Woman of Tomorrow yet. I was planning to before the movie. I'm not a big Tom King fan. A lot of people really like Tom King. I'm kind of wishy-washy on him, so I haven't actually read Woman of Tomorrow. But if you're trying to prep for a movie, you can't go wrong prepping for a movie with the comic that directly inspires it in a $10 format. Very smart move from DC. Superman. We have All-Star Superman, released July 2nd, 2024, containing all 12 issues by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. Now, this was a direct inspiration on James Gunn's Superman movie, so this is a great way to get that out again. All-Star Superman takes a very kind of Silver Age episodic approach. Not everybody loves it. It's a kind of a mixed bag. It's, Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely are well-loved creators, and the series is loved by its fans, but it doesn't hit everybody the same because of the kind of episodic nature of it. I think getting it all in one compact edition and getting to read it for a very low price at $10, yeah, you really can't go wrong with that. I think that's an excellent release. Superman Birthright, released June 24, 2025 by Mark Waid, Lionel Francis Yu, and Jerry Agon. That is a 12-issue series, and that is a new modern origin for Superman in the 2000s. I adore Superman Birthright. I cannot recommend Superman Birthright enough. That is one of my favorite takes on the Superman origin. And yes, if you've never read Superman Birthright, absolutely a great pick. Both Superman picks, this and All-Star, are standalone 12-issue series. That's excellent for this format. Absolutely excellent for this format. All right, Superman Red Sun. This was a Mark Millar series where it showed Superman as if he landed in Soviet Russia as opposed to Kansas. It's a 3-issue miniseries, and it's really interesting to see not only how Superman's life is different in his new position, but also how the rest of the world changes. How is Wonder Woman or Batman or Green Lantern affected in a world where these changes have happened? And I think it's a really cool Elseworld story, and it's a fun pickup. There also was an animated movie adaptation of this, so it's a good companion to that if you've seen that movie and enjoyed it and want a little bit more. All right, Superman Batman Book 1, released July 15, 2025. This contains Superman Batman 1-6, 8-13, plus a story from Superman Batman Secret Files and Origins 2003 by Jeff Loeb, Ed McGuinness, and Michael Turner. This is the first 2 major arcs of the Superman and Batman series. If you've seen the movies Public Enemies and Apocalypse, this is the direct comic that they were pulled from. Excellent picks. The Superman Batman series kind of has a lot of ups and downs in terms of quality and storylines, but these 2 arcs are the most iconic for a reason, and I think putting them together into one book for $10, you can't go wrong. The dynamic between Clark and Bruce in this series, made the backbone of those 2 animated movies that are really great, so highly recommend checking this one out. V for Vendetta, the iconic series by Alan Moore and David Lloyd, released November 4th, 2025. This contains the entirety of V for Vendetta, which is an iconic series. There was a movie, they're doing an HBO series now. This is a well-loved series, and if you're into the subject matter of V for Vendetta, then it's definitely going to be for you. It's kind of an interesting, it's a dystopian post-apocalyptic story of the United Kingdom in the 1990s, preceded by a nuclear war in the 80s. And there is a lot of social commentary, political commentary, and it's Alan Moore at his best. So if you're into V for Vendetta, it's a good pickup to get. Watchmen. Watchmen is one of the most iconic comic books of all time. Alan Moore, Dave Gibbons. This was released June 4th, 2024, containing all 12 issues of Watchmen. I'm a little jealous you can get Watchmen for $10, because when I started reading comics, and I had to read Watchmen because everybody has to at some point, I had to buy a $30 trade. So everybody that's getting into it now, you can get Watchmen for $10. It's been adapted into a movie that did not do a great job. It's had an HBO sequel series that was really great and highly recommended if you enjoyed the comic. Watchmen has been interpreted, misunderstood, and reimagined so many times, but nothing, absolutely nothing, touches the original comic. Alan Moore wrote this story to be read as a comic book. And so if you want to read it as a comic book, you can do so for $10. It is a deconstruction of superheroes in an alternate world that has correlations to the Charlton Comics heroes that DC acquired, like Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, and others. But I gotta tell you, Watchmen is a seminal work in the comics medium for a lot of reasons, and we may be tired of trying to adapt it, but that original work, if you never read it, you'll understand why everyone says it should have stayed as a comic. We 3, released November 18, 2025. This is a series by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, a 3-issue series. It is very bizarre. If you like Grant Morrison, and you like their work, and you like the mind-bending, crazy stuff that Grant Morrison does in comics, We 3 is for you. If you do not, We 3 is not for you. I've actually never read We 3. I'm actually surprised it got a compact. This didn't feel significant enough to get a compact, but hey, it's out there. This may be one I actually might pick up. Maybe I'll just see it at a Barnes & Noble and just be like, you know what? Today's the day I read We 3. All right, Wonder Woman, Blood and Guts, released August 19th, 2025. This contains the first 12 issues of the New 52 Wonder Woman series by Brian Azzarello, Cliff Chiang, and Tony Akins. Now, this series is going to hit people different depending on what you like from Wonder Woman. If you like a more action-oriented Wonder Woman, sword, violent, that kind of thing, more warrior Wonder Woman, that's definitely up your alley. If you're more into Wonder Woman, ambassador of truth and peace and, pacifism, not so much. That's not this version of Wonder Woman. This also had a lot of defining things for Wonder Woman in the New 52 era that would carry forward. So it's going to hit different depending on who you are. But if you like the more action-oriented Wonder Woman, the more Amazonian warrior, that's going to be a run to definitely check out. It's not the entire thing, but in my personal opinion, it's the best part of it. And then we have Wonder Woman Earth 1, released August 6, 2024 by Grant Morrison and Yannick Paquette. This is a weird one. Earth 1 was a whole alternate universe project. They start with Superman, then they did Batman, then they did Wonder Woman, they did a Green Lantern. They're all very strange, but the idea is they go back to their Golden Age roots. And with Wonder Woman's Golden Age roots, it involves a lot of bondage imagery, which is definitely back for Wonder Woman Earth 1. It is kind of a complete because it does have all 3 volumes of Wonder Woman Earth 1. So it is the complete Wonder Woman Earth 1 for $10. Maybe it's worth a shot. Try it out. See if you like it. I was not a fan of this one. Why the Last Man Unmanned. This was released October 21st, 2025. This was by Brian K. Vaughan, Pio Guerra, and Jose Mazan Jr. And this is the first 10 issues of Why the Last Man. It is a Vertigo title. It is outside the DC universe, and it is set in a world where there is one man left on Earth. And it ran pretty good. This is just the first chunk of it. Again, this is kind of like a trial run volume if you're going to enjoy the series. So that's DC Compact Comics and my thoughts on them. Like I said, don't take my word as gospel. I'm just somebody that's read DC for a long time. I hope, though, I gave some recommendations. I went a little bit more opinion-based on this. Again, if a book looks interesting to you, pick it up, regardless of what I say. But I just want to kind of give some guidance because I think that some of these are excellent pickups and some of these are kind of strange. And I think also it's good to know going in if you're getting a true complete story or just part of one. Because I think for the most part, they're complete stories, but some of them aren't. And I think that it's good to know what you're looking at. So I hope this was helpful. Leave some comments down below. Tell me what you think. Give me any thoughts on future format ideas. But Yeah, I think that does it for the video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe and the notification bell to keep up with future videos on the channel for comics and Blu-rays and more. Also, be sure to check out our Discord server in the link below if you want to continue the conversation. And if you'd like to join as a channel member, you can get perks like early access to videos. Let's give some special shout-outs to our channel members. Special shout out to all of our channel members, including Captain Tiers, Spin-54, Masturbed95, Forever1000, Super Shaddix Boom, Veloquence, Rogue Leader 2448, Mr. Smelly Potato, Kaiju1954, Cameron Meter, Patty, Infinite 1985, Tokutaku, NXT, Crestfallen Thoughts at Midnight, Tara Neeson, Kamen Jojo, Mohammed Jop, Jess Hood, Phyllis Nerdyverse, Dr. Grid, Onio Nichan, and David Johnson. Thank you to everybody, viewers and channel members alike. If you so wish, I'm on social media on Blue Sky and Letterboxd at Soundout12, and you can find my wonderful graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643. Plus, you can find Hero Club at hero-club.com for comic reviews and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying, get some compact comics, start reading some books.